thanks a lot for being here, Sacha, because I have many, many, many questions, and in the same time, I don't know how to start. So you feel good. It's a good start.
I've been in 5 countries today.
Mhm.
It's a great pleasure to be here with you. Um, as I mentioned to you a little bit earlier, I'm keen to speak on my favorite subject at the moment, which is time, money, and fear, and how these 3 elements are the same thing, and how they have been uh, effectively the source code of the old paradigm, and the paradigm from which we are seeking now change. And that is a paradigm which takes us away from time and money and fear, and takes us into art and beauty and consciousness, and into sovereignty, into creative expression, into noble expression. So this is my chosen subject. It also speaks to the birth of a movement, um, a very beautiful movement, which I have begun with a group of brothers and sisters called the New Earth Nation. And I would like to go into that and explain where that connection is, and how we make a departure from time and money and fear. What time, money, and fear represents in the zeitgeist, in the psychology of the planet. How these elements have subverted the human narrative from its true birthright, which is one of bliss and pure creativity. How it is that we have permissioned this, and more importantly, how it is that we can withdraw our permission now from this paradigm.
You speak about a new earth. So it means that there is in your mind an old earth, an old world. You speak about fears, about money, about time. How do you see the world today?
I see it still being configured according to time and to money, and very much to fear. The reason why we surround ourselves with intercessionaries, and the intercessionary principles which stand between us as humans and our true capacity to engage with our humanity. This is something we need to address, and we need to give full, undiluted focus to this. How we plan our lives and downgrade our existence into units of time, and how that time is really an accreted value of fear, being afraid of what might exist around the corner, being afraid of the past and the future, and not being in the present because our attention is so connected to having regrets about the past, and having fears and concerns about the future, taking out insurance policies, taking out pension plans, constantly rushing from A to B, and never being grounded in the present.
Who is responsible for that, do you think?
Well, we are absolutely responsible for it, because we are permissioning these mutant systems and ideas to control our lives. Again, I'm trying to simplify it by talking about time and money and fear. And to fully address the fear aspect, let me just say that we need to address the business of sovereignty, and how we need to step outside of these invisible contracts that we have engaged with. The only reason why you have to pay a penalty or a speeding fine, or even give your name to a policeman or some bureaucrat and fill out the forms, is because you have been tricked from birth into a registration process where you have been handed over to a state, a corporate nation state, actually, a privately owned corporate nation state that is a business. And for the last 250 to 300 years at least, the emergence of the modern nation states, of which there are between 190 and 200, depending on which side of the Palestine and Israel debate you stand on. We are in this catastrophic labyrinth now, which is fundamentally owned and contained by the corporate nation states and the what I call the Babylonian priesthood that drives these corporate nation states. So the fact that we are indentured into private trusts, you are not regarded as a living woman. When a policeman stops you and asks
What does
you,
he see?
well, he asks you for your identity, doesn't he? And when you say, my name is X, he says, no, I want to see your papers. He doesn't believe what you say. What you say is not important. The paper defines who you are. Your identity is a trust, a birth bond that is being traded on the stock market that can be penalized and fined and have money pulled out of that bond. So you are being commercialized, monetized. You are a unit of currency on the streets of your own country. You are not a living woman or a living man. This is serious stuff.
Yes, it is. But don't you think that some people are maybe afraid or still have fears, but a lot of them simply don't know, are just conditioned? And
Absolutely.
so
This is what we're learning. This is what I'm learning. I've spent 14 odd years now walking in a straight line on these issues, slowly assembling what I believe to be the generic alphabet of the human heart. This was how I began my own journey. And yes, I would agree with you that along the way, the many thousands of conversations I've had, and I've had them with people on the streets to world leaders. And I can safely say that even amongst our so-called leaders, there is abject ignorance at work. People simply do not know this. They are conditioned, they are programmed, and they are spat out of a machine, as most of us are. If we're, whatever our profession is, it's become very focused, very separated. So we are truly at the time of Babylon when people speak very sophisticated language, but nobody understands what anyone else is saying. The bankers speak banking language. Lawyers speak legalese. Doctors, nobody can read a doctor's handwriting and nobody can understand what they're talking about. So we've become incredibly sophisticated intellectually, but increasingly isolated from one another.
we were speaking about the beginning of your own journey. When were you conscious about what you were saying about? What was the
I became obsessed with a simple idea, which was to begin to identify the generic alphabet of the human heart or of the human condition. And I took my obsession very seriously and spent a few years traveling around the world. I was well connected, fortunately, from my days in music, and I had some powerful friends who were able to open doors and have doors opened. So I began a campaign for 3 or 4 years, meeting with political and religious leaders and cultural leaders and all around the world. And
so it means that you were observing and interviewing people that you met?
yes, I was. I was asking a uniform question, generally, especially of the religious and spiritual leaders, and this was asking them if the religion of the human heart took precedence over their own sectarian religion. I wanted to know the answer to this. I wanted to know from the Taoist and Buddhist perspective and the Islamist perspective and the Christian perspective, if this was something that could be acknowledged even by leadership in the religious orders and denominations? And the interesting thing was, the answer was yes. This was something I stole, of course, from Tagore, the wonderful Indian mystic who coined the religion of the human heart. But that was my obsession. And
When was that? 20 years ago?
1997. I'm not quite that old. 1997, I began my journey in 97. Yeah.
And then what was the next step after that?
A next a higher frequency and degree of insanity was my next step. I became slightly more insane and pursued peace as an idea. I was ignorant enough to believe in peace as an idea, as a word. And I was educated by political figures, a few of them who patronized me and took me aside on my campaign and said, listen, son, this is how the world works. You know, it doesn't work that way. Nobody is going to make a peace. Not yet. There's too much money to be made. And so in many conversations, especially, as I said, with political leaders, I learned that that would be very much a failed objective. And I pursued art and cultural initiatives and some peace initiatives, education initiatives through Humanitad for many years. And then finally this arrived at, for me, a realization that the only way to have any impact in this world was to exit this world.
I really like what you say, and you have this beautiful gift. You are a leader. You could be a guru.
Ah,
Are you a guru?
I'm a guru slayer. We reject gurus.
What is a guru? Yeah.
Intercessionary.
Okay. No, but you have this passion, and I appreciate that. I just want to focus on what is your ultimate goal.
The ultimate goal doesn't exist.
Okay.
And if it did exist, I would have failed in what I am seeking to achieve in my lifetime. For me, I am not seeking anything for anyone else. The momentum or the wave that we begin in what we do will gather in direct proportion to the amount of people whose hearts and minds will identify with that frequency that we are putting out. So the most important thing that we can individually concern ourselves with is our own inner journey, and not to give a damn about the external world or the explicit world. It is so much more important that we focus on our own footsteps, not the objective.
So no objective, but what is the vision when you create the platform, when you create a new Earth nation or the project? So what is the vision? Is the vision a better word?
It is more than a better world. It is a better state of being. It is a higher state of consciousness whilst we are in our third density field of expression, whilst we are inhabiting bodies and we are living in a physical plane. This is not our ultimate birthright. We are here to play and to create, inform, and to enjoy this process, to find bliss and serendipity in this process. We are not here to be butchered and bastardized by little gray men, technocrats and bureaucrats, and people who govern their own lives by fear and time and money. This is a trap that many of us have fallen into, but we can just as easily withdraw from this trap.
Okay, but on the website, if people are going on the website, so they can see locations. And I was wondering, if I click in Chile, for instance, you have a location in Chile. Yes, what do you have in Chile?
We are developing and master planning there 100% zero footprint, sustainable, ecological, conscious community held in the protectorate, in the trust. It is outside of the jurisdiction of any nation state under pure law. And you will discover later this year and into next year conscious people beginning to migrate and move into these protectorates and beginning to define their own lives and their own joy outside, again, outside of time and of money, and certainly outside of fear. We have 10 faculties ranging from science and technology through to consciousness and spirituality, and obviously health and wellness and law and governance and so on. We have dozens of academies that are forming within the New Earth Institute. We have, I think, almost 100 fellows already within the Institute, some of the leading figures in the world in all of these different disciplines, in economics, in permaculture, ecological sustainability, bioarchitecture, you name it. It's the alpha and the omega of the human and planetary condition. We cannot address within ourselves our sovereignty, and we cannot address our consciousness effectively unless we are considering the whole system and having a holistic approach, not only to our own lives, but to the life of the planet as a whole.
Okay, so what would be the first step for these people?
Stop paying taxes. This will make me a very unpopular man by many people for saying something like that. And believe me, I've heard all of the intellectual arguments about how we need to keep our roads paved and how we need to keep the streets clean. But this is nonsense. If anyone knows what happens with taxes, no income tax goes towards streets or schools. None of it. Study your own economy. Study your national economy. I've studied these things for years. This is part of the boring work we've had to do in analysis to be able to diagnose what the problem is with our civilization. Taxes do not pay for streets. They pay for war. That's what they pay for. It is commercial or business taxes that pay for the streets, invariably, and the schools and the hospitals. But in a conscious society, in a conscious civilization, we do not need schools. We need to take children into life where they discover life. They can stand on the market squares like they did with Socrates and learn far more by discovering life than by sitting in these ridiculous square rooms surrounded by copper wire and fluorescent light bulbs, poisoning minds and hearts, and then doing what? Programming them like some mutant software downloaded into these children about A, B, C, and 1, 2, 3, all of which is nonsense. Newtonian physics is dead. There is new physics has emerged, and we're not even teaching this to our children.
You said stopping paying tax. Is there another way?
Yes, that was the reflex answer. It is a very obvious answer because, as I explained, where our tax dollars go is directly responsible for the binding of the planet into this diabolical condition. But a more proactive and conscious way to go would be to enter into the declaration of sovereignty. This is something which on the New Earth Nation portal, which is our virtual government effectively, you can enter that portal and you can see the declaration of sovereignty, and actually you can sign it online. It'll become digitally dated. And it's a very beautiful declaration. But what that declaration does is, under pure law, which incidentally is your own law, your law is the most pure law. When you are standing in your sovereignty and declaring yourself as a living being, as an emissary, as a son or a daughter of God, under universal law, you are the sovereign in this world. There is no government or system or institution that has any power over you when you make that declaration and when you mean it. And this is something which can be proven in courtrooms if we want to play that silly game. In real terms, the New Earth Nation is establishing and has already established its own law academy and law commission and tribunal for natural justice, which we engage with later this year. Citizens' juries, citizens' grand juries. These are going to be words that you will be very familiar with in the coming months and the years as our nation states, corporate nation states, private corporate nation states begin to collapse because they are collapsing. The mask is almost off. And once that mask falls and the emperor is found to have no clothes standing behind the curtain, the world is going to change very, very quickly. Now is a time for people to begin to wake up to this, to study up on this, and to identify with a higher form of reality, and then begin to become the architect of the life that they truly want and the life that they want for their families. And that is not a life where we are vampiring off each other or cannibalizing each other, stealing resources from one another, and exploiting one another's sadness and one another's misery.
Would you say that the movement is also a kind of teacher for us?
It is the people who are in the movement who are the teachers, initially to themselves and then to one another. So it is a quantum phenomenon that is unfolding with this movement. It is not fixed. It will never be static, which is why we do not define it by laws or by statutes or by regulations or by codes. We have only a few guiding principles, and those principles are offered or gifted to the communities that are beginning all around the world. But there is no law. Human beings, when they are left to default into their pure nature, are not warmongers. They are not aggressive, angry, jealous, bloodlusting beings. This is a nonsense taught to us in schools, that we are fundamentally aggressive and we love going to war. No, we do not. We never enjoyed going to war. Human beings do not enjoy fighting. But when they are manipulated into fighting, territorial disputes by princes and kings and priests and bishops, popes, yes, we do the fighting when we are told that we have no choice. So this is a part of the story that needs to change, part of the narrative that needs to change.
So I would like to say that maybe your movement, the New Earth project, would be to teach to everyone to be their own architect of their life.
You just said it. It's not so much to teach, but to allow the blank canvas upon which people can begin to paint their own pure law, their own highest expression, their own creativity. And once human beings are able to engage in a world which is not being governed by 1260 time, and which is not being governed and manipulated by money and by money manipulation, then you will begin to see people breathing. You'll see people feeling well, engaging with consciousness, engaging with spirituality, engaging with creativity. This is the world we want. We don't enjoy sending our babies to war. That's bullshit.
Thank you so much, Sacha, for coming here in Belgium at cnw.tv. I am so pleased you made it. And it's high time to say goodbye, and it's high time for change. It's high time for daring. A big hug.
Merci.